Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on and learning a little bit about our past trip that we just got back from. We went to Malawi and Zambia, and while we were there, there were so many highlights from that trip. We also learned a lot, and we've had a lot of people ask questions, and we want to be able to share what some of those highlights were, what we learned, and how Co-Africa is going to use that information to move forward. So we are calling this Grateful Hearts Lasting Lessons because our hearts are just so full after being there. And these lessons that we took home not only changed our personal lives, but we're really excited for the direction of Co-Africa from there. So this is what we're going to go over in a very short amount of time. We want to tell you why we decided to go on this trip, what brought us back there, some of the highlights, what we learned, and then what is next. So the objectives, we were cramming in a lot in a 2-week period. We wanted to visit as many of our past projects to make sure things were holding up and that our contractors and the people we hired to do the work there were still doing their part, that things were in good shape. We wanted to look at things that were happening right now in terms of classroom projects, as well as there were potential future projects that were kind of being pitched to us that we wanted to see in person. We wanted to assess Co-Africa's efficacy, and are we being the most efficient as well as effective with the work we're doing. There were village chiefs and government officials that we met with. We definitely wanted to gather more pictures and videos so that we could better tell the story of what is going on over there. We needed to secure some partnerships and just kind of keep those relationships strong. We did something fun, a kind of a side project, but it was something that became important to me anyway, but to us all, was we provided some soccer or football and netball equipment, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we also wanted to research and prepare to see if an upcoming trip might be available to open up to other people. All those things, we'll kind of touch on those. So one of the biggest highlights for me, this was my first time going to Africa, was just seeing the life. Okay, let me step back. So who attended was Marcy Romney, our executive director. I'm Jenny Green, and so marketing director. And then Lisa Nielsen was a volunteer who came with us. So Marcy's been to Africa a few times and to check on our projects and things like that. But this was mine and Lisa's first time going to Africa. And just being in a new culture, away from stepping out of our comfort zone, everything that you're used to in your daily life, and seeing someone in their home, their environment, was so eye-opening and, quite frankly, very, very beautiful. These are just a few pictures. The bottom corner, you see house upon house upon house, and that was a refugee camp that we visited. It's like a refugee camp, and that was a very eye-opening experience as well. We saw all these little solar panels because there's no electricity where we are. And so people had these small they were charging their solar so they could have their phones and things like that. And so these little pieces of life that we saw was just beautiful. And it was a massive highlight. So many of you contributed to making friendship bracelets and writing note cards for the students. And this was so fun. This was so fun. So thank you so much for your time that you put into making the friendship bracelets. We had so many groups of people and individuals send those in. And the note cards we've never done before. And that was really, really a neat experience. This day in particular, it was after school hours, and we knew we wouldn't have the whole school there. But the kids that were there, we lined them up. Actually, the head teacher helped us line them up, and one by one, we put their bracelets on. They were so excited. And then we left like 1,000 of them so that every single child who's enrolled in the school would have a bracelet that they would be able to get the next day. And then we left extras in case more kids were enrolled over the next couple of weeks. But that was a beautiful experience, and they were so excited. I want to make note that in this picture, you see a lot of them holding these cups. And in that picture in the far corner, there's a building, and that is Mary's Meals. So Mary's Meals is a partner we have. Well, yeah, and they provide meals at schools. And so when you see pictures with these kids in their cups, those are their meal cups. And so when they come to school, they know they're going to be provided a meal. Next, we did our note cards, and this is just one of the pictures, but that was a really neat experience. A lot of the kids in um, uh, Malawi are learning English. They're not taught English at the primary school level, so we actually gave them to our secondary ed class. But this is a class of youngsters who were learning English. And so we were able to read some of the shorter notes with them, and they loved it. And then they could take those home and just keep those forever. The bottom picture, I went into teacher mode and I said, we were reading them together. And then I said, should we write a letter back? And they're like, yeah. So together we came up with a letter and they told me what to write. And so this was the note we wrote on the chalkboard. They said, dear friend, thank you for giving us the letters. We are the learners from Fountain in the Lilongwe, Malawi. We are in grade 6. We like school because we have a hardworking teacher. We hope you all pass your examinations. Thank you for being so good to us. So anyway, I thought it was really sweet that they wanted to do that. Another really big highlight and something we were excited and looking forward to is we wanted to experience and be with the children with what their daily routine may look like. And so one thing that we wanted to do was to walk to school with the children. We know a lot of the kids come very, very far distances. So we didn't go the furthest out, but we woke up very early one morning and we drove into the village. And when I say we drive into the village, it's very remote. It's, an hour drive in at least some days. And we met at Cynthia's house. Cynthia is in standard 1 or first grade for American, but people watching, but they call it standard 1. And I love this picture. She was just getting ready for school. She was putting her lotion on, and it was just seeing her daily routine. Then we left all together and we started walking on this path. And as we walked, we were able to talk with the children. They were a little kind of like, what's going on? Why are all these people here? So they were a little nervous at first. And then as they were trying to figure it out, and then we were able to talk with them. And I actually was in the back and I talked with one of the teachers for quite some time about their struggles and things. And it was a really, really neat experience. Another massive highlight was Matembo. So Matembo Primary School is right by the Zaleka refugee camp. And this is the school that we fundraised for last November and December. And so if you donated, this is what it was for. This handover ceremony was so moving and so fun. It was so fun. There was traditional dances and performances. There were poems being read from children. There was a drama, like a little skit that they did, which was phenomenal. It was so great. There was so much dancing and there was so much joy. We were offered, if you got our newsletter, I think I said it in there, but we were offered some chickens and a bag of corn, I believe. And I was actually really moved by that because I knew the sacrifice that was, and they just wanted to show their appreciation. And it was beautiful to me. We accepted that, but we made sure they got their food back. So we, but it was beautiful. Again, just so much joy and excitement around having these classrooms because they know what that means. This highlight was really fun. So I grew up a soccer player. Lisa grew up a soccer player. Marcy has kids who play soccer. And I thought, okay, we're coming with a volunteer. What if we do something that we have the classrooms that we know is important, but I knew that life is heavy and hard. And I felt like, as we talked about, we just were like, let's bring some fun to these kids. And football, soccer, as we know it in America, but football, the rest of the world knows it, is massive. And so is netball, which is kind of like a basketball without the backboard. And that is also a sport I have found that is popular throughout the world other than America. And so we did kind of a side fundraiser, and friends and family pitched in, and we were able to gift some new equipment. I love the joy on this boy's face as he is handed over this new ball. And what's even cooler, I think, is seeing the teachers in the background and how excited they are, because they know what this means for the kids. I mean, the kids are excited, and I kind of expected that, but to see the excitement of the teachers as well was something that got me every single time. If you look at the group picture, that little boy in front in the white shirt is holding a ball, and we saw these balls everywhere. These are their homemade soccer balls, footballs, and so we actually traded him for that, and it was really fun. After we did that, we had a game, and Lisa and I had separate teams, and we played each other, and I scored a goal, so I felt very. I wasn't. It was an exciting moment because these kids are amazing. And those two girls on my team, we only won because were killer. They were incredible. But it was so much fun to play a game with them and to be laughing and high-fiving, and it was pretty great. So the goalposts you see, we saw those all over. They're at every school, they're in the community. So we had raised enough money that in Matembo, we were able to, at that handover ceremony, we were also able to do a big handover of their field. And we were able to install um, goalposts and nets and netball hoops. And the fun part about this, and something that was significant to us, was that this school now becomes a bigger focal point of the entire community, because we were told, we were on the fence if we were going to do it or not. And then as we were talking to our partners and things in Africa, they just said, everyone's going to use this. And we thought, man, the entire community will be coming to this school, and it will actually help instill the importance of education and all the things. It was the community went wild. They were so excited. So it was pretty great. Obviously, a highlight was the children, the holding hands and walking together, sitting on our lap, playing games, teaching them little like clapping things, dancing, laughing. The time we spent with them is time that will be like imprinted on my heart forever. Their enthusiasm for life and their hope and um, their joy was such a gift. And anyway, the biggest highlight, the joy. Here we go again. Um, that was one of the first things I noticed, was how happy everyone seemed to be. We would stop and say hi to someone and ask if we could like take a picture or whatever. Huge smile on their face. Just there's so much joy. But what we also learned is uh, the knowledge that there's extreme poverty there is different than being there and experiencing it and seeing it. And so, and I know, speaking as an American, I don't believe that anyone in America can fully understand what this type of poverty is like. Um, the children there, as much as there is joy, there was often ripped clothing, or clothing that didn't quite fit, because those are the options, right? They try to reuse, keep their clothing as long as possible. So maybe it doesn't fit that right, and it's being passed down, or whatever it might be, with ripped uniforms or whatnot. Um, Look at those beautiful smiles. The poverty continued to me as I noticed. So in this picture, this was the road through, as we were going to the villages, and this is the town. So it was kind of explained when someone says they're going to town, like going in town. That's the section of it. And the cities, there's really not a ton of development. I knew that Malawi in particular was one of the poorest countries in the world, but again, seeing it made me understand what that looked like. Um, we were in places with, I mean, most of the time there was no electricity. This is a woman getting her water at the borehole. So any little thing that they receive really makes a huge impact. Um, Something I was thinking about that we think of as luxuries a lot of times look very different there. So again, here's a picture, with the boy in his little football, right? This boy in the soccer uniform at Matembo when we had the grand reveal of the soccer goals and posts, and they were playing a game. I noticed he was playing a game with one shoe. Many of them had no shoes, and that was, I mean, running on a field with no shoes. That's not something that would happen here, right? When we were walking to school, this was kind of our first day of interaction at one of our schools. And I noticed how many children were walking to school without shoes. This little boy who's looking back at us, you can't really tell, but oh, goodness, but he's wearing one sandal. It was just really common. In that top corner, the little girl is holding this plastic toy. And during the day, during that handover ceremony, I had a lot of kids around me, and a few of them would stay close, but there would be different kids who came. And I saw this same toy pass through the hands of several children. And that's when I decided I need a picture of this toy. Um, I think it's a dog when I was looking at it, but the legs are gone, the eyes are popped out. A toy is very common where I am from, and so that was touching to me. And it was really sincerely the first toy that looked somewhat familiar to me. Not that they don't have games and stuff. I'm sure that they have, but it just stood out. The other thing that we learned and that stood out was the negative cultural traditions. That's what I'm calling it, but that education is fighting against. In the teacher's work area, so we'd have like a teacher room, and in there were often posters, and we took pictures of all these posters. And it would be teacher standards, or this one is from Chalima Primary School, the Child Protection Policy Chart. And number 7 says no girl learner should be proposed to by teachers, boys, or male parents. And that stood out to me because that's a given where I'm from, right? We don't propose to our students, and especially in an elementary school, in a primary school. And so what education is doing is they're kind of fighting some of those. Culturally, I would say as a whole, um, governments and the countries understand that child marriage is not good. When um, when you have such extreme poverty and you're trying to make ends meet, and sometimes these traditions last because out of necessity and things like that, and lack of education. Um, but the schools are really combating some of that, and it's making a difference. In one of the primary schools, they had this poster about teen pregnancy in the primary school. And so at a very young age, they are trying to teach their girls. There was a poster next to this one actually that was like, know your worth. And it talked about, you know, understanding your value is more than um, it was about prostitution and something. I couldn't find that picture, but anyway, it was right next to the teen pregnancy one. And then this other one, um, I it is not in English, but from it you can see they are attending school. There is an adult, and it looks like some kind of abuse, and it's saying this is not allowed. So the schools are combating some of these issues, and I think they are really important in getting that education. Something that's important to my heart is that every child is served. So I have a daughter who's 19 years old, and she has severe disabilities, and she benefits from the special education that's provided in the United States and the public school systems. I don't know of any program like that in Malawi or Zambia where we were. But what I did notice was that in those teacher spaces on the posters, it often said every child is to be served. Every child gets every child is provided an education meeting their needs and their ability. It doesn't matter their gender, like all these things. And what we saw were kids interacting with their classmates who had differences. So this one here, um, can you even see my arrow? I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can. Okay. So this child right here, um, my daughter has something called microcephaly. And so I saw this picture, and I didn't take this picture. So either Marcy or Lisa did. And I was going through them and I went, "Oh, this child has microcephaly." So a smaller head, I can tell by the facial features, the smaller frame. My daughter's 19 years old. I know a little bit more about microcephaly than I did before, so I can spot things out. And there's often cognitive delay. I don't know the severity of her delay, but there will be some. And there were many pictures with interaction, and that warmed my heart. This other child sitting with her classmates right up front in the front row. So not like, oh, you're in the back, let's work on with just the students who need it or whatever. No, everyone gets what they need. And that brought so much joy to my heart on a very personal level. I don't know if this child has any cognitive delays, but definitely has some physical disabilities. And I was happy to see that these children were being served. This child over here, I was he was in a sea of children. There were so many kids sitting there during the handover ceremony, and I saw him sitting in this wheelchair. So number one, he has a wheelchair. That is impressive to me. I don't know if his parents did that or if the community pulled together to make that happen, which we found happens quite a bit, where the community pulls together to make sure certain kids get what they need. But I was really touched that he had what he needed and he was there. As we were driving in, into the school, these children were just running alongside us and singing and cheering, and they were so excited. And when I opened the car door, they were all there, right? And we were clapping and singing all together. And this boy right here with Down syndrome was right there with his classmates, singing and dancing, and they were all doing it together. And it just really warmed my heart that there didn't seem to be any discrimination, that everyone was involved. Another thing we learned was the secondary school structure and the secondary school need. So there are phenomenal teachers in all of the schools that we visited. Um, the primary teachers that prepare the students to get to secondary, which is your middle school and high school, work really hard. And those students need to pay for an exam, and if they pass, then they are then selected or not to go on to secondary school. Um, I don't know the percentage of people not accepted. I just knew that I thought if you passed your exams, you go on to secondary school. And we learned that some kids, that wasn't the case. And they were just waiting for an open spot. That costs a lot of money. And there are also fees attached to attending secondary school. Um, So it's not a free education. Now, an election just happened, and part of the election pitch, I guess, was to make secondary education free in Malawi, at least. And so they're hoping to see how that plays out, but they still need to figure out how to make that work. So for the time being, families need to figure out how to pay for school once they get to secondary ed. So, what is next for CoAfrica and for the work being done? Guys, we are going to continue funding classroom construction. There is so much need, and there is so much. We knew the research before. We know physical classrooms make a difference. Again, here in the United States, I don't know if people understand the importance of a classroom because we have classrooms, and even classrooms in poor condition are nothing like the classrooms that we see there. The countries are so poor as they're trying to figure out how to allocate their funding. They have to make decisions, and some schools just don't get the classrooms. Plus, it's government, right? Like things move slowly. So we are going to continue to do our part. There are classrooms like this that cannot be used because roofs are blown off or leaking. There are all these gaps. And I mean, these community members who pull together to create something for their children, to me, is incredibly moving. But this is one of the classrooms. It's not conducive to learning. Here are two classes sitting under the tree. When rainy season hits, they're out of school for 3, 4 months. It's not okay. So they need classrooms. Um, Tonde Primary School is one of the projects that we are preparing for and will be fundraising for because they need it. They need it. This was a class that was being taught under the tree, and then we had them turn around and come. A few other kids may have run in to be in the picture, but there were over 100 kids spread out trying to squeeze in the shade underneath that tree as he taught with a small chalkboard. I will say, as a past teacher myself, I was super impressed. He's a phenomenal teacher, and the kids were so engaged. But you can only do so much when your resources are so limited. The classrooms they have, you can see the beams on the roof are deteriorated from termite damage. There's holes in the ground. It's just not safe. So this is one of the projects that we will be working on, but we are going to continue to do this work. What does that mean? It means we are even more committed to fundraising and seeking sponsorship and engaging the people who feel drawn to and to help and to move this work forward. Something really exciting is that we are also going to, da 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 da, drum roll, we are going to offer a trip. So one of the things we did was we were looking at different hotels and things like that. But we invite you to come serve with us as we go back to Malawi in 2026. And if you're interested, let us know. You'll be able to sign up to get more information as things unfold. But we're looking at Malawi 2026 in the summertime, probably, well, our summertime, so June probably. And where we will be able to serve in the classroom, see different parts of the different projects we've done, work with different communities, and really be there so that you can also experience the joy of being with these children, with the teachers, with the moms and dads who are fighting for their kids every day. It's really, really incredible. And we invite you to come with us. In closing, this is a highlight and a lesson and how we kind of wanted to end. And it was the power of one, the power of the individual. In one of our school, or a school we visited, and I hope I pronounce it right, but I'm Bike in Zambia. This right here is the head teacher, and she came to this school as the only one. She was the teacher, and as she saw the need, she made it happen. She got the community together and had them build a playground. And it's kind of hard to see because it's spread out, but they built this incredible playground. When we pulled up, we were like, what? This is amazing. It's beautiful. She pulled the people together to do that. They planted a garden. And so the children are tending the garden and they're using the food, and it's amazing. She had them paint these beautiful rocks to create pathways and to create zones. I couldn't get over how beautiful the grounds were. And it was because she had a vision for this school. And even though she was alone in doing it, she was going to make it happen. They have toilets there that they don't even have classrooms. But when things came up, she thought, nope, my students need that. I'm going to ask for that. And I know who to contact, how to make that happen. Um, it's been incredible. One of the things we were talking to a council member of the community. I forget his official title. And he said, she made me come and sit on the floor with the children as she taught a lesson. I had to sit on the floor and sit through that whole thing. And he said, but I'll tell you what, I saw the need because I was there. And now when she needs something, I know she's going to get it done and I fight for her. And so we were so moved as we left. We just kept talking about how incredible that the power of one is. And she's an example of that. There's so many people in Co-Africa that are abroad, that are there, who are volunteers. They have their own organizations going on, they have their own things, but they are our project managers over there helping Co-Africa for free because they see the need and they're excited to be a part of it. They want to volunteer. Over here, this is Matthias Simba. He's our contact in Zambia. He has an organization. He's working with Mary's Meals, so he's helping get food to the children. He's doing a massive study with UNC Chapel Hill here in the US on HIV and breaking that stigma. Kresher here is one of our Malawi project managers, and he drove us around, and we were in the car a lot with him. And hearing his life story and how he really came from nothing. And here he is now having his own business and helping so many people. Goodwill Banda did not have a pair of shoes until he was 18 years old, and he's now getting his PhD. He has dedicated his life to educating children and to helping people in his home village get what they need, get food, to learn how to make money, to learn how to make their farming more effective so they can have food. It's so humbling how close this extreme poverty and a successful life where you can give back, that gap is not very far. But when you have a classroom, it makes that playing field more even, and more children are able to get the education they need. This is Maxwell and Karen, and they work with Matthias at Rising Fountains, so his organization, and we were able to spend some time with them and hear their stories. And it's just story after story, life experience of these individuals who started with nothing and now are giving back so much to their own community. It's very, very moving. As a former teacher, I just have to say, I'm in awe at the teachers. And when we talk about the power of one, each of these individual teachers are making a huge impact on the lives of their children. I just want to close with this. Lisa was our volunteer, and I asked her to share a thought, about her experience. And so I'm going to read it. It's a little bit long, but she says, I've never seen so much poverty, yet I've never experienced such joy. While my daily life is so different from those in the African villages we visited, one thing unites us, the desire for our children to succeed. Education is the only way up and out, and the parents I met were determined to give their children a better life. I was moved to tears each time I held a child's hand, hugged a mother carrying her baby on her back, or watched children walking to school without shoes. I saw dedicated teachers instructing their students under trees, students sitting on the floor instead of at desks, and classrooms filled with 100 or more children for a single class. Yet despite the challenges, many of the students' test scores showed their remarkable achievement. They are excelling because they care. Their teachers care. They work hard because they understand the importance of getting an education. Imagine the difference if all children in rural communities could learn under a proper roof and inside a classroom. The impact would be life-changing. I felt the deep appreciation of teachers, parents, students, government officials. I have this, I have something blocking my screen here. And I have this totally blocked out now. members alike. I'm convinced there is no place on earth that values education as profoundly as the African people. This trip with Co-Africa was truly life-changing. I will carry this experience in my heart forever. I echo those words. I working with Co-Africa, I knew it intellectually, but being there has changed my life. So we invite you to be the change you want to see in the world. If you feel the desire to make a change and you want to help prevent HIV, prevent human trafficking, prevent all these other horrible things that come with such severe poverty that research has showed that stable education improves, join us, help us. Talk to your friends, become one of us, volunteer with us, come with us, and we will, class by class, change the world.